Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of AndrewsFootball.com, and welcome to my post-Super Bowl review. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't done it already, there's a button right around here. See it, see it, see it. Bam! Hit that button. Become one of the greatest people on planet Earth. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and rehash the Super Bowl. If you're like myself, you've probably seen all the highlights dozens of times, hundreds of times, and you'll never get sick of it. But I'm not going to break down the Super Bowl as much as I'm going to break down both teams post-Super Bowl and kind of look at what direction they're going to go into in the 2020 season. And let's start off with San Francisco. John Lynch looked visibly pissed. And I'm not talking about the timeout thing that he was doing at the end of the first half. I'm talking about in the second half where he was on the sidelines and he was just, I mean, his body language looked like somebody who was very, very upset. And bottom line, the thing with San Francisco is Shanahan's record is 23-25. This is a guy who does not have a winning record as a head coach, despite of all the accolades that was being praised upon him. And I do think he's a good coach, but here's something I want you guys to think about. In 2014, San Francisco went 8-8. Then they went 5-11, 2-14. Then Shanahan came and they bumped up to 6-10. Then they went 4-12. This year they went from 4 wins to 13 wins. Let me bring to you something very similar. Let's look at the Chicago Bears. 2013 they were 8-8, 5-11. Then they went 6-10, 3-13, 5-11. Then they went up to 12-4. Last year, 8-8. Let me tell you something. Teams that perennially have double-digit losses that switch to double-digit wins always go back down. Now, the Rams, somebody's going to say, well, what about the Rams? Remember they went from 4 wins to 11 wins and 13 wins? Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. After their 13-3 Super Bowl loss, what happened the following year? 9-7, didn't make the playoffs. The difference is between McVay and Shanahan is nobody called McVay a choker. They were just like, well, you got outsmarted by Belichick. Shanahan's being called a choker. And unlike McVay, he has a losing record. See, I think San Francisco is going to be about 7-9 win team. And unlike the Rams, who went from 11 wins to 13 wins after winning 4 wins the year before, they signed a bunch of free agents. San Francisco can't do that. Matter of fact, they're going to lose a lot of free agents. And the two most important players on their team are Eric Armstead and DeForest Buckner. And DeForest Buckner is getting that 5th-year deal. If you don't know, the first 4 years he's made about $11 million. This year he's going to get $14.36 million, or he's going to get cut. Eric Armstead's going to be a free agent. Here's the deal. Without those two players, those are the two most important players on the San Francisco 49ers. Because without those two players, that whole defense does not work. They need both of those players. And both those players are probably going to cost them somewhere between 25 and 30 million. That's a huge increase. And here's the deal. If you're Eric Armstead, you're looking over at D Ford, who was injured for roughly half the year, who got 5 years and 90 million. You're going to say, I want at least that. You got to start off with greater than 5-year, 90 million. You got to start there. So bottom line, without those two guys, this whole defense doesn't work. And this whole team's kind of revolved around that defense, specifically that defensive line. So I number one, I don't see how you could keep both those guys. I don't see it. But if you do, you're going to have to sacrifice elsewhere, and you're not going to be able to be a better team. So you either find a way to pay these guys, sacrifice in other areas, don't pay those guys, and your whole team falls apart. That's what I'm seeing. And keep in mind, Shanahan's a sub 500 coach who's going to be labeled as a choker. So what's my bold prediction for 2020? 49ers are not making the playoffs and Shanahan will be fired. That's a bold prediction. That's what I think is going to happen. And it's unfortunate because I think he's an excellent coach. I don't blame him for losing to the New England Patriots, but a lot of people do, and that will stick behind him for a while. That's just unfortunate, but nobody said life's fair. With the Kansas City Chiefs, it's very simple. You have the best player in football and the face of the NFL for the next decade under a rookie contract, which means that you have a very good chance of going to the Super Bowl as long as Patrick Mahomes is under a rookie contract. You have a Super Bowl caliber team, plain and simple. The thing is, though, you could lose Chris Jones and Sammy Watkins, two very key pieces to the Super Bowl puzzle. I think Chris Jones will be gone. I think a team will offer him a ton of money. I actually think he'll go to Detroit. I think Detroit will break the bank to get him. Detroit, if you don't know, needs to. They were told by the owner, boom or bust, playoffs or you're fired, and that was a 3-win team. So that's something that that I'm not going to break down the Detroit Lions, but I do think Chris Jones will get money, and I think if I had to shoot. Throw a dart at the team, I'd say it's Detroit Lions. Watkins is an interesting story, but he has mentioned he would restructure his contract. Denver and Oakland are going to be much improved. As a Chiefs fan, I absolutely hate what the Denver Broncos are doing. But bottom line, all the moves that Denver's making is in the positive. The Raiders, look, they lost Antonio Brown, Vontaze Burfict. Hopefully I'm getting that name right. Gone for the year. Abram, who they thought was going to be their starting strong safety, he got injured in training camp. He was out for the year. The Raiders scare me. But the AFC West is going to be overall a lot tougher. And the Chargers, on the other hand, I see them rebuilding behind a rookie quarterback. I want to touch a little more about that in just a second. But bottom line, the road for Kansas City to repeat is going to be difficult, but as long as Reed and Mahomes are together under a rookie contract, they have as good of a chance as anybody to repeat as Super Bowl champs. Now, one of the greatest people on planet Earth asked me, where is Tom Brady going to end up in 2020? And a very popular thing has been the Chargers. He's going to go back to California. He's going to go back home to California. And why not go to the Chargers, who released Phillip Rivers, or they're not going to elect to re-sign him? Well, first off, for those of you in the Midwest, yeah, you may or may not know this. Simple geography lesson. San Francisco and Los Angeles are not really close to each other because California is a big fucking state. If you're from Kansas City, it's a shorter drive from Kansas City to St. Louis than it is from San Francisco to LA. So Brady coming home to Southern California when he lived way the fuck up in Northern California, I don't think it's really going to mean that much to LA. I really don't. I think that if Brady could play anywhere, and I think it would be the best fit, would be in San Francisco. Not only does he get to come home, because he lived just a few miles south of San Francisco. He was at the 1981 NFC Championship game, which is now referred to as The Catch. One of the greatest games ever. He can do everything Garoppolo can do, except better. He could still play at a high level. And I think that if the 49ers were to cut Garoppolo and sign Brady, I think he would attract more free agents and allow San Francisco to sign players who might leave elsewhere, like Emmanuel Sanders, Eric Armstead, etc. That said, I think he'll end up back in New England. I think he'll sign something like a three-year, $115 million deal. And I think he'll sign somewhere between 30 and 35. I'm going to go high with 35. And I'm doing air quotes because it'll be called a 3-year deal, but in reality, it's only going to be a 2-year deal. And what will happen is they'll use the 23rd pick on a quarterback in this year's draft or next year's draft. I think with the 23rd pick in the draft, they'll either trade up or use that 23rd pick and draft a quarterback this year. Unlike some of the other teams, he'll sit for 2 years. The player who stands out to me would be Jacob Eason, the University of Washington quarterback, because I think he has more talent than anybody in the draft, but he's also the biggest boom or bust prospect. Not quite the boom or bust of Josh Allen, but really close. And I think under New England, having him sit for 2 years and saying, hey, year 3, win us a Super Bowl, that would be the best option for somebody like Jacob Eason. Of course, Jordan Love, he could also be the same type. But just a hunch. And keep in mind, I'm going to start doing the draft next month. We'll talk all about this. But for my money, I think Tom Brady for years has taken a under market value contract. I think that he knows he's on the very limited time, maximum of 3 years. I think 2 is really where he's going to end up at. I think 2 years is what he's got, or what he's thinking he's got anyway. And he wants to make big money these last 2 or 3 years. And I think New England will pay him. I really do. I think New England's going to say, hey, look, you won 6 rings. You're the greatest of all time. This is a New England perspective, of course. We'll pay you. And I think it would be the right thing to do. But if there's a team that, besides New England, I think Tom Brady would want to be in San Francisco. I don't know if they could swing it and would handle cutting Garoppolo, but the way Garoppolo's contract set up, cutting him this year would be the best year. You can't cut him and get a rookie, but you could cut him for Brady. So, but I don't think it's going to happen. To answer your question, Braden, I think Tom Brady will end up in New England for the next 2 years. So here's what's going to happen. In about a month, March the 9th, I'm going to start my draft coverage. If you watched my videos last year, the way I do it is the first video is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals and what they're going to do with the first pick in the draft. The next day, it's going to be the Washington Redskins and what they're going to do with the second pick in the draft. The next day, the Detroit Lions, what they're going to do with the third pick in the draft. And I'll keep kind of a running total, keep track of all my picks. And then after I get done with all 32 teams, if there's a change or an amendment, I'll make a separate video to back that up. And then all the teams that are not picking in the first round, I'll do a video and I'll predict who they are going to pick with their first draft choice. So bottom line, I am going to take some time off from YouTube. I'm going to stop making videos for about a month. However, you can always email me at askandrewsfootball@yahoo.com. If you leave a comment in the section, I try to answer my comments every day. I was in Vegas, so I didn't get to your comments until today. Hopefully you can forgive me, but I was in Vegas. Come on. And if you do leave a comment, I will try to get back to you the next day. You can always email me, but keep in mind, hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Instagram. I will get back to you if you have something, but starting March 9th, I'll be doing daily. Every single day, including weekends, I'll be doing daily draft videos. So listen, if you are a subscriber to Andrews Football, you already know you're one of the greatest people on planet Earth. All your wildest dreams are going to become true. I hope you enjoyed my post-Super Bowl review, and I will see you in roughly 1 month.